Hello everyone and welcome to WP User TV. In today's video, I'm going to do a demonstration of Gutenberg. This is the upcoming changes to WordPress. This is going to change the way WordPress works, so it is a big deal. So I'd like to take this opportunity and do a demo and show you how it's going to look in the near future. Now, when I talk about the near future, I'm talking about in a matter of months. I mean, the projected times of making this massive change is April, May. So we are going to see that this is going to do a massive shakeup in WordPress, because this is going to pretty much change how we edit our information on our pages. Currently, there is a tiny MCE. Now that whole thing is going to be replaced by Gutenberg. So let's take a look at how Gutenberg works and how it's going to change the way we're going to build WordPress websites. So right now, I'm just going to go into my WordPress admin dashboard and add a new page. So I'm going to come over here to dashboard, and then I'm going to come over here to pages and click on add new. Now, at the moment, if you take a look at this editor here, this is the tiny MCE, which I was referring to a moment ago. This is how we pretty much use the editor. Now, all this is going to be changed. Now, before I go ahead, you can see that right now, because I have DIVI installed, we can actually go in and override all this using the DIVI builder. Now, at the moment, if I install the Gutenberg plugin, you'll notice that there won't be any option of DIVI, even though it's installed on my website. So this is going to be interesting how page builders are going to integrate their page builder with Gutenberg. But this is something that we're waiting for. And I know for a fact with Elegant Themes, we're working behind the scenes to achieve this. So hopefully this is going to be very exciting moving forward. Now, in order for us to install Gutenberg, of course, when it launches WordPress 5.0, when it launches with that, it's going to be inbuilt. But at the moment, there's a plugin out there that we can install and start playing around with already. So this is what I was going to show you. Now let's go in and install the plugin. So I'm going to come over here to plugins, click on add new. So over here, I can actually search for it. Right, so it is right here. And if we take a look here at the rating, it's 50-50, okay? I played around with it a bit, and again, my feelings towards this at the moment is also 50-50, and I will go ahead and explain why. So right now, I'm just gonna click on activate. Okay, so now that I have it activated, now if I go to a page, let's go and click on add new. You'll notice that everything has changed now, okay? We don't have that option to go into DIVI, so pretty much it disables everything. In fact, some plugins may also be affected by this. So the way things are going to work now are in a block-based system. So if we come over here, you can see as I add my mouse over this plus button, it says add block. So when I click here, it then gives us options of which block we need to add. So let's say I need to add a cover image. I'm going to click once on that, click on upload, and then I can upload this from my actual computer. But if I don't want to do that and there's images in my media library, I can just come over here and add it from here. So I'm just going to add this image right here. Okay, let's try this one. I'm going to click on select. And that's how our image gets edited. So right now I can see there's a cursor which I can use to add a description or even a title for that image. So let's just call this test, right? Like that. Now, if I click on this image here, we have more options. You can see here, I can come over here and align it center and so on. And then over here, I can also edit the image itself by going back here. And I can do my edits if I need to change, let's say, for example, the size, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to close that. So again, we have more options. You see these three little buttons here. It also gives us more options. So if I click here, I can actually edit this as HTML, or I can convert it to a reusable block. Now, a reusable block is similar to adding something to the library in DIVI, where you can use it over and over again as you're designing your website. Okay, so over here to the right, If I click on this and then come over here to the block, again, it gives us more options. Now, at the moment, we can adjust the brightness. So if you take a look here as I'm moving the slider, I can make this image brighter or reduce the brightness. I can also set it here to be a fixed background if I wanted to by just clicking on that. So now that I've made this change, let's take a look at how this page actually looks. So if I click on publish, okay, now I can view the page. Right, so you can see here that this is how the page looks. So if you need to go back and do some edits, I can always click here on edit page. And then I can go ahead and start editing. Now over here, we have page attributes. We can allow comments. There's also an excerpt. We can set a featured image for this actual page if we wanted to. So let's say I need to add something else here. So let's say I need to add a paragraph of text. So all I have to do is if I add my mouse over here, I can either click on add block or I can just select the latest ones that I've just recently used. So if I click on paragraph, I can always come here. I'm just going to grab a bunch of text from here like that and just paste it. Now this just saves me from typing. Okay, so that's our text. As you can see, it just goes in as it is. And then you can actually highlight the text like that and make it bold if you want. And let's say you want to make some of it italics. You can also do that by clicking this button. If you need to add a link, you can always just highlight that. Click this button here to add a link like that. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. It's not difficult at all. And now let's add something even more interesting. So if I come over here and click on add block, I can actually add an audio. I can add a heading. So this is actually missing here. Let's add a heading and I'm going to paste it right here. Now if you take a look here on the left, we have these little arrows, one pointing up and one pointing down. If we click this, this actually moves my heading up. You can see here, it's actually cycling through and there it is right there at the top. I can also add a title for this page. See, that could be my title right there. So this is how we're going to be building our pages moving forward. So now let's say I'm here and I don't want this heading anymore. I can just click this button here and click on remove and that takes it away. I can also come here, click remove. So as you can see, it's very straightforward to remove information on your actual page. Now we can also do more things like adding a video. So if I click on add block, I can actually come here to embeds. I can add a YouTube video here. So let's go ahead and do that. So here I can add my URL. So I'm going to go to my YouTube channel and copy a URL and just show you how easy it is to go in and paste. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a video that I've used before. So I'm just going to go to my Creator Studio and then I'm just going to click on edit. Right, so this is my video URL. I'm just going to copy it back over here and paste it and click on embed. But this automatically adds my video in there. And if I need to move it around, I can just click this button here and move that video until I'm satisfied where I need that video to be. Okay, so let's take a look at more options. If I click this add block, I can also add a list of things here. I can also click here on blocks. Now, these are all the blocks that we have currently here. So we have a video blog, subhead, and we also have this formatting, which I think is really cool because you can actually come in here and add your pull codes and also even tables. And if you scroll down here, we have layout blocks. So let's say you want to add 2 columns. I can just add my 2 columns like that. And then let me just copy some text and paste it in. Okay, so here's my first column. I can paste my text like that and paste my text in the other column. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Let's see what else we can do. Now here, if I go back to my embeds, into the blocks, we have a more block here and also a separator, and we also have a button. So let's add a button here. So our button here, we can just call it download now, like that. Now, if we click on this block here, our options can be found over here on the right. So if I click on block, this is where now we can start making more adjustments. So let's say I need to change the background color of my button. I can just change it like that by going into this palette, or I can choose my predefined colors here like that. And then on the bottom here, we can actually choose the text color that we need for this button. So again, if we click on it here, we can paste the URL right here, which is very straightforward. So let's say this is the URL I need to take people to. I can just paste it, and that becomes the URL that's going to work with that button. Okay, so if I click away, now you can see that the button is now there. So this is pretty much taking shape slowly, but as you can see, this is very far from what we can do currently with our page builders. I mean, even the basic of the page builders out there is way much better than what WordPress has at the moment. Now, is this going to improve? Yes, I think so, because they want this way of building your website to be the standard, and I think this is a way of pretty much just catching up with the times. Because if we take a look at some options online, in fact, I was on LinkedIn the other day, and I noticed that they have a similar system which WordPress is trying to implement. In fact, let me do a quick demo and just show you what I mean by that. So if I come over here, I'm just going to change this URL to LinkedIn. So I was just creating a post on LinkedIn, and I noticed that the way to create a post was pretty much interesting. So if I come over here to write an article, you can see it's similar to the plus button. So if I click here, you can see I can add a video. I can add links. My headline is right here if I wanted to add it to. So this is similar to what we have on our current Gutenberg. Again, if we go to another website called Medium, it's very similar. In fact, I don't know who started first, but this is quite interesting, as you shall see. So let me add a new story, for example. So I'm going to just go back and forth between Gutenberg Builder. So if over here, you can see if I add my plus here, it's showing these heading, cover image, and paragraph. Now, if I come over here to Medium, if I click this plus button, again, you can see it's something similar. I can add my video, text, and so on. And here, my title, I can just start typing it in here. Okay. So let's say this is my test title. If I click away from it, if I click on this plus button, I can add an image, and then I can search for the image. I'm going to cancel that. You can see that this is sort of like the way that WordPress is going, which is very interesting. Now, am I satisfied about Gutenberg right now? The answer is no, because it doesn't give me a lot in terms of my design options. Okay, so I'm very limited to what I can do with this. So even here, having the layout where I can have it pretty much go to edge, I still don't have that. I mean, I've tried to look for it over here on the document, but I can't see that. So this is what I'm stuck with. So again, if I update this page and view it, we can see that this is pretty much the layout I have, and it's quite difficult to go in and customize, like the text as we would currently if we're using a page builder. Now, let's say I need to have a full width page. Again, as I mentioned, this is quite tricky to do. Of course, you can do it with using your CSS to make it that way, but for majority of us who just want to build a website quick and easy, this is going to be a bit tricky. Now, the other thing that this is lacking at the moment is the ability to add your sections, rows. Right now we have these modules which they're calling blocks. I'm just using that terminology because I'm just sort of like comparing it with what we have with DIVI right now. So when it comes to adding a section, I mean, we can't do that at the moment. We can't even add rows, and this is pretty much what we are stuck with. Now, I know if you use a theme which allows you to do full width, like the Astra theme, you may be able to have this page stretch width to width, but this is just pretty much using the standard theme that comes with WordPress. So that's where the tricky part is. Now let's take a look at what else we can do here. If I click on this plus button, I can actually save some blocks, and if I come over here to saved, this is where I would see my saved blocks. So think about this as the media library in DIVI, so you can actually save items in here. Now when it comes to the future, of course, as I mentioned earlier on, I'm in mixed feelings, because on one hand, I really want, obviously, WordPress to keep up with the trends and also make it look modern and easier to use. But at the same time, I would also like an easier way to sort of like continue using the way we are building websites at the moment. So that is using our page builders, because the page builder, as I mentioned earlier on, allows us to have even more flexibility when it comes to designing our pages. Of course, we can do things like adding a background. In fact, let me just show you quickly here how you can do that. So you have to make sure that this is selected in order for you to make changes to it. So right now I'm selecting this actual block. If I come over here, I have more options. So you can see here I have 2 columns. I'm not sure if I can even add. Oh, actually I can. So you can add more columns in that area, which is interesting. If I come over here to more options. Now let's see if let's say for example, need to do font size. I can actually click the block and increase my font size like that. Of course, that's way too big. Okay, so I'm just going to keep it at maybe 21. And I can also add a background color to this particular block. So I'm going to click on background, and that's my color right there. And you can see it actually looks quite nice when I add my color that way. But as I mentioned, there's very few we can do. We can't add your gradients. We can't do a lot of the tweaks that we normally do in terms of the padding, the margins, and all of that. That would need to be done using CSS. So we are very far away from getting a standalone editor, which WordPress is trying to implement. So I think the way forward here is to try and get our current page builders to work with Gutenberg. Initially, I won't be using this at all. Maybe later on when it improves, but the chances of this really catching up to page builders like Divi, Elementor, or even Beaver Builder, I think that's a very, very long away. And it's very hard for me to imagine them catching up right now, because to be honest, Elegant Themes, they have a very strong team of developers who are always going to be a step ahead. And there is a group, the team is very, very talented. And I'm sure even other companies that do, like, for example, Elementor and Beaver Builder are. So for WordPress to really play catch up, it's going to be quite tricky. So it is a long way for WordPress to catch up. So what I will say to you is, if you're going to be updating your website, make sure you're sure about you switching on to this way of designing your website. Otherwise, you're going to be now stuck with a system which will pretty much eradicate all the work that you've been adding onto your website. So I would say don't upgrade as soon as WordPress announces this, and wait until you hear some announcement from your favorite page builders. I would say that's the way forward, because I know for a fact at Elegant Themes we're working tirelessly behind the scenes to find a way to make this new WordPress work together with our builder. Okay, so now that I've added these things, I'm just going to do a quick preview and see. So in fact, before I do that, I'm just going to click update and view post. Okay, so you can even see here the formatting. I mean, basic things like line height, I can't even do that currently. And this is why I'm not really keen on Gutenberg right now in its current state. I don't see a lot changing until April, when they officially implement this into the latest WordPress update. I don't see them, implementing a lot of the changes. But currently, I would not recommend it to start designing your websites this way, because you have very, very little flexibility when it comes to editing it. But if you're just someone who wants to just put together a quick blog, you're not really bothered about the design aspects of it, then of course you can just go ahead and start using this straight away. But if you're sort of like coming from an angle where you want your websites to look beautiful, professional, and And even if you're running a design agency, then of course I would say stay away from this, at least for the moment, until all this is integrating very well with your favorite page builder. Okay, so that's all I have. I would like to say thank you very much for watching. If you're brand new to web design and WordPress, I would recommend that you download my free course, WordPress Mastery. It has all the topics and covers everything pretty much that you need to get you up and running with WordPress. And also I have a course on DIVI. It's called DIVI Blueprint 3. This is a course which will allow you to master DIVI and build awesome looking websites. All that information is in the links in the show notes below. So go ahead, click those links and get started designing websites using DIVI and WordPress. Until next time, thanks for watching and see you soon.